On April 19, 1775, colonial militia at Lexington fired the first shots of the Revolutionary War, a moment historians call the shot heard round the world. The 13 colonies together housed roughly 2.1 million inhabitants spread from the Atlantic coast to the Appalachian frontier, each with distinct economies and local legislatures. Britain maintained a standing army of about 15,000 regular troops in North America, overseen by General Thomas Gage, stationed at his Boston headquarters. Colonial printer Isaiah Thomas flooded towns with revolutionary pamphlets, using his Boston print shop to spread arguments for liberty and resistance across a growing public sphere. The Atlantic span of roughly 3,000 miles between London and the colonies magnified misunderstandings as news and royal proclamations took weeks to travel. Colonists demanded representation in the taxes that funded their defense, while Parliament insisted on its sovereign right to legislate for the entire empire. The outbreak at Lexington forced both sides onto a war footing, prompting the Second Continental Congress to convene in May 1775 and plan a unified response. Rebellionist roots trace back to the French and Indian War of 1754 to 1763, a costly struggle that expanded British territorial claims but left the empire heavily indebted. The war left Britain with an estimated national debt of £72 million, driving the Crown to seek new revenue from its American colonies. In 1765, Parliament enacted the Stamp Act, taxing legal documents, newspapers, and playing cards, igniting widespread colonial protest over direct internal taxation. Outraged colonists coined the slogan "No taxation without representation," asserting that only their elected assemblies could legitimize fiscal measures imposed upon them. The 1767 Townshend Acts imposed duties on tea, glass, and paint, sparking boycotts. In March 1770, the Boston Massacre saw British soldiers fire into a crowd, killing 5 civilians, an event later immortalized by Paul Revere's engraving. The 1773 Tea Act aimed to rescue the East India Company, prompting colonists disguised as Native Americans to dump. Parliament's 1774 coercive or intolerable acts closed Boston as port and revoked Massachusetts' charter, uniting disparate colonial leaders in unified opposition. Enlightenment thinkers John Locke, in January 1776, Thomas Paine's pamphlet Common Sense argued that monarchy was incompatible with liberty, galvanizing public opinion toward independence. Samuel Adams organized resistance committees throughout Boston, coordinating protests. In 1775, Patrick Henry delivered his famed speech in Virginia, declaring, "Give me liberty or give me death," and rallying colonists to the revolutionary cause. June 1775 saw George Washington appointed commander of the Continental Army, beginning the formal organization of colonial forces into a unified military structure. Washington established Continental Army encampments around Boston, training militia on Cambridge fields while monitoring British General Gage's troop movements in the city. On June 17, 1775, colonial forces fought the Battle of Bunker Hill, inflicting heavy British casualties despite ultimately retreating from the Charlestown Ridge. In July 1775, the Second Continental Congress issued the Olive Branch Petition, a final appeal for reconciliation addressed to King George III. King George III rejected the Olive Branch Petition in July, declaring the colonies in open rebellion and authorizing full military suppression. October 1775 saw the Continental Congress launch the First Continental Navy, commissioning the Schooner Congress to challenge British blockade along the Atlantic coast. By March 1776, fortified Dorchester Heights forced British forces to abandon Boston, evacuating ships from the harbor and ending the siege. January 1776, Thomas Paine's pamphlet Common Sense circulated widely, urging immediate independence and reshaping colonial public opinion toward revolution. In June 1776, Thomas Jefferson drafted the Declaration of Independence, articulating universal rights and justifying separation from British rule. On July 4th, still 1776, delegates formally adopted the Declaration of Independence, announcing the United States' birth to the world. Late August 1776, British forces outflanked Washington at the Battle of Long Island, forcing the Continental Army to retreat across New York Harbor. December 25th, still 1776, Washington crossed the icy Delaware River with his troops, launching a surprise offensive against Hessian forces in Trenton. The following day, December 26th, still 1776, the Continental Army captured Trenton, securing a crucial morale-boosting victory after a daring river crossing. January 3rd, still 1777, Washington's forces won the Battle of Princeton, compelling British withdrawal from southern New Jersey and revitalizing revolutionary resolve. September 19th, still 1777, American troops achieved decisive victory at Saratoga, convincing France that the colonists could defeat Britain. On February 6th, still 1778, France signed a treaty of alliance with the United States, providing essential military support. From September to October 1781, the combined Franco-American siege at Yorktown forced British General Cornwallis to surrender, effectively ending major combat. September 3rd, still 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, formally recognizing American independence and establishing borders from the Atlantic to the Mississippi. In November 1783, British troops completed their final evacuation from New York City, concluding a decade of occupation along the eastern seaboard. June 1784, Congress passed the Militia Acts, creating a standing United States Army and standardizing federal military organization. By 1789, the new Constitution took effect, solidifying the United States as a sovereign republic and concluding the Revolutionary era.